Sure.
And it's preparing, so I'll just let you know as soon as it's live.
Sure.
Okay, we can start. I think it's 3. Good evening and welcome everybody. We have gathered today to talk about the issues of child online safety and the issues of online safety and well-being for children and young people. We are doing this stock taking and presenting a sort of status report on the issue of online safety for children and young people, and also the well-being of children and young people when they are on the internet. Today, in the introduction, I invite our mentor, Dr. Raj Bhandari, and Professor Abdul Mateen, who is the president of FLAIR, to take it forward from here. We have 3 sessions, as you already know. The first is around law and policy, second is around technology, and third is around psychology and psychiatry aspects. So we have all the speakers with us right now. Professor Pandey is here, I can see him. Vikramji is here. Bhavna is also here, and 2 of her students, Khushbu and Prerna, will be making presentation. Professor Yatan Balhara from All India Institute of Medical Sciences is also here. His session in the last, but we are fortunate enough, very fortunate to have him from the beginning, because he is a very person who has knowledge of all-round issues around, because he is working on the issue for the last many years and heads a center at All India Institute, which is called Behavioral Addictions Clinic, which works mainly on issues around internet addiction. So I hand it over to Dr. Bhandari and Professor Mateen, please. Sir, Dr. Bhandari, please. Sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
You are, sir.
Great. So it's an honor and a privilege to welcome you all for this online consultation. And Ajay has already briefed how this meeting would run for the next 3 hours. I would give a brief introduction about the organization, the Safe and Healthy Internet for Children and Adolescents Alliance. And this is a group of professionals and community organizations which are networked with one another through exposure to a common cause of problems and finding common solutions. It is anchored by FLAIR, which is the Forum for Learning and Action with Innovation and Rigor. And it is an alliance with membership open to everyone. And I invite you all to become members and extend this membership to others as associate membership and as general membership. So this was formed on 2nd of August 2019 with its inception starting from 24th of May, when a brainstorming meeting was organized by FLAIR at the India International Center in New Delhi. So this alliance has 2 secretariats and they are housed at FLAIR. And I must tell you that this journey has been a very exciting journey for me as well, to notice how things were changing and transforming over a period of time. And this was exacerbated still more in the COVID-19, which has been a defining moment in the history of humanity, because COVID has fundamentally changed and challenged our belief system and norms and forced us to behave differently. One of the major things that we noticed was our increasing dependency on the internet and digital media. And I think no age was aloof from this across all demographics and cultures and even sectors, whether it be education, health, or so. This was a dominant factor, and I could see that there were many innovative digital platforms which were developed during this time. As a pediatrician, I also look at this from the lens of child rights and how we are investing the modern technology in child protection. And child protection is an entitlement, it is not an obligation. So all government and non-government agencies basically need to acknowledge the fact that what we are serving to children has to be safe and healthy. Also, it has to be in consonance with the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 goals, which has 169 indicators, and the core issue of sustainability, where we talk of one planet and one health. I believe that this internet has given us 2 things. One is equality and the other is empowerment. And this is cross-cutting across all sectors and all goals. And there is a definite interrelationship between these goals. So if I come to our education system, we are on the cusp of a transformative change in our teaching, learning, pedagogy, and online classes becoming the new normal. Safe and healthy internet usage is a rising concern, and I see that the millennials are the digital natives, and many of us, parents and teachers, we are digital immigrants. So the use and abuse of internet and digital technology it bears an inherent risk, and because there is always a risk of transgression into uncharted territories where children can fall prey to the cyber predators and crime. Therefore, important to have safeguards and a robust regulatory framework to protect our children from abuse while promoting the culture of gainful learning. So my understanding is that the use of ICT will democratize and increase access to the digital and information technology in the national education policy. And the internet penetration has certainly grown and deepened its roots both in the urban and rural. So we have an increasing consumer base, user base of internet, and therefore it also comes with all these challenges that I have enumerated. So we have a very distinguished panel today who would be addressing to quite a few of these concerns which have emerged out of uh, the use of internet and the safety issues and the health issues. And I often wonder that whether there is any, when we talk of behavioral addiction, whether it alludes to different times and spaces. That is one thing I would want to understand at the end of this meeting, and whether the classification of problematic use, abuse, and addiction is dependent on how the society perceives this phenomena. So without much ado, as you all know that the WHO ICD-11 classification of internet addiction has come about, and it is also it continues to be work in progress, but we need to set the right tools for diagnosing, because this is much of a gray area to me as well. And I would just conclude by giving a small, an incident that Martina Navratilova, she was asked, how do you basically maintain focus while you are playing, and at the age of 43 years, how is it that you are able to maintain the focus? And she very humbly replied that the ball does not know how old you are. Further, she says that you need to stop yourself from stopping yourself. And every game in life is played on a pitch of a space which is only 6 inches. That is the space between 2 ears. And that space is the mind, and it has no boundaries. So this was a very enlightening remark that she gave, and we need to declutter our minds so that we do not mess it up with hatred, regrets, expectations, secrets, and worries, and also maintain a healthy internal dialogue. So with this, I hand over to the organizers to take it forward and have a very, very fruitful discussion and a pleasant day to you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Now I request Professor Mateen to say a few words for 2-3 minutes as encouragement to everybody. And after that, I will hand over to Professor Pandey, Vikramji, and Bhavna. They will take it there forward from there for the first session. Professor Mateen.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bhandari. Thank you, Ajay. On behalf of FLAIR, I welcome all the speakers and the participants. This is a wonderful opportunity for me to learn about what is something new, online experience for the young adults and children. Instead of repeating what Dr. Bhandari has said, I think that, one of the interests I have is as a social scientist. I'm not a technologist, but then I understand that I always pose the question that technology for whom? And then I think, and this is my understanding, that technology for the society, for the individuals. And on this issue, I have always pondered over the issue of, quote unquote, an issue of ethical algorithm. How this online safety for the children is addressing within the framework of ethical algorithm is something, a great concern for mine as a social scientist. and many ideas which will crop up from today's discussion and debate, and in time to come discussions and debate will be very helpful for me to enhance my understanding of ethical algorithm, in which the notion of social change, then the social values embedded in algorithm, then accountability, interpretability, its regulation or violation, and some of the things which are done by frontline persons like Michael Cairns and Aaron Roth are some of my interests in this field. So with that, again, I welcome all the speakers and the participants. As I told you that this is a platform for me to learn from you all. So thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Now I request Bhavna, Vikramji and Professor Pandey to take it forward from here. It will be mainly Vikramji's responsibility to facilitate and moderate. We will be having two young students pursuing LLM at Jamia Millia Islamia who will be making presentation. We have Khushbu and Prerna. Over to you, Vikramji.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you so much, and welcome, Professor Pandey. Good to see you. And hi, Bhavna. So Ajay has asked me to kind of moderate, and it helps me also because I will start the moderation with a couple of questions which I am in my recent past I encountered, so that during the discussion both the presenters can also touch upon if possible, and surely Bhavna and Professor Pandey, I will request them to touch. So one thing which happened recently was when my son was using his mobile, he somehow somewhere went to some link which disallowed him to use the Gmail, and then there was a requirement for a parental control, and so a link was sent to my email ID, and then I was asked to do certain undergo certain procedures and get into that parental control. Something very new for me also, somebody who has been using internet and computers for quite some time now. So it was something very new, very new for me. Second thing which happened was again on one of the social media platforms, you are popped up with advertisements and all. You have to buy, if you want to buy something or something. So we kind of saw something very interesting and tempted because of the price, which was fairly low than what is in the market, and we purchased it online, sent it the money, and that product never came. And if you and if you look at that social media site, it clearly says that advertisers are basically, they take no responsibility per se. Those social media sites, they take no responsibility. So there are sites like say Amazon and all, which are purely selling sites, but then you have social media sites where most of your youngsters go, and we also go, something like say Facebook. So even there you have advertisers, but Facebook does not take any responsibility for being if you are there is some fraudulent purchase made. So I'll start from two things, and then another case I'll just share where, and this is where my interest lies is, there was a case in Delhi when one of my uh, close who was a CWC member then, she shared that in Northeast Delhi, there was a rampant case where young girls of schools, say around 10, 12 years old, they were being stalked by some male members. And after 2, 3 days of stalking, what they used to do is that they used to threat that we will harm your brother or harm your father or harm somebody in your immediate family, and then coerce them to take the mobile camera home click some pictures of their body and their private parts and all, and they were supposed to return back the camera. Once they do that, once they got into that trap, then the next ordeal used to start. And these cases came up before the CWC, and there were few such cases. So it was more like a kind of an organized way of crime. So I'm leaving. What I'm trying to do is I'm opening the space for everyone, and I'm wanting the presenters to. And Bhavana, I'll request you if you can moderate with your presenters, and then you present, and I will then request Professor Pandey to give his closing remarks and obviously his own presentation. Thank you, Bhavana. Over to you. Bhavana, you are on mute.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, Ajay sir, for having me here. And a very heart-warming welcome to Pandey sir. Let me tell you, he is my PhD mentor. I am pursuing my PhD under him. So it's my immense pleasure to be here with him. And hello, Vikram sir. I have met you once. And again, it's great to be here with you. So as you have shared these latest cases with us, the 2-3 instances that you have shared, so it's been 4 years. I have like literally been into this, and these kind of cases is a like daily routine, or every day this thing is happening, like sharing the pictures of young girls, and not even girls, it's happening with the boys as well, the same thing. So firstly, let's have a quick view of everything, that what is happening, what are the other kind of cases that we are having, and what is the law that we have, as this session is particularly on law. So I would request the both presenters, that is Khushbu and Prerna, so just let's have a quick understanding with their presentation, and then we can move forward with our views and our analysis of what they have asked us. So I would request Khushbu and Prerna to please give their presentation to us. Over to you, Khushbu and Prerna, please.
Thank you, Bhavna. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Prerna.
And I'm Khushbu.
Today,
We are a student of Jamia Millia Islamia University.
today, I am going to present a research paper on the topic of status of law and policy for safety of children on internet. I would like to share my screen for the same. In recent time, cybercrime, especially against children, are increasing at a rapid pace. And you know, one thing which is decreasing, that is the age of the child. I would like to show you some statistical data. The report of UNICEF shows that 1 out of 3 girls and 1 out of 5 boys were sexually assaulted day by day. There is another data of NCR which shows that cybercrime against children has been increased by 63.5% from 2018 to 2019. And as per the report of ICPF, during the lockdown, the consumption of child pornography has been increased up to 95%. There are other reports and survey as well that shows inclination in the child pornography. Let's take a look at the reason behind the increasing rate of child pornography. First reason is more indulgence of children in internet activities. In recent time, the children are dependent a lot on the internet activity, from major to minor activities, maybe for educational purpose or for entertainment purpose. Everything is dependent upon the internet. The second reason is easy access of child pornographic websites. Internet freely permits easy access to all the child pornographic websites, images, and videos without any age barrier. I would like to give you an example of recent case. In Delhi Police Cyber Crime Cell registered a case against a 16-year-old student who was teased by all of his classmates. So to take revenge, he created a website and publishes the sexually assaulted images related to girls on the website. This shows that how a school-going children access these websites. The third reason is anonymous nature of the internet. Due to the anonymous nature of the internet, the molesters or perpetrators easily drag the children without any fear of getting recognized or traced by the police officials. For example, when the children are playing games on the internet, they unknowingly give access to phone location, images, and their contacts. And these apps have a worldwide network. An anonymous person starts chatting with the students or children through chatting rooms and get information. The fourth reason is lack of cyber education between children and parents. Parents plays a very important role in this. For example, parents regularly updates and post their videos and images related to the activities of the children on the internet, and they don't know how this information are manipulated by the perpetrators like pedophiles. The fifth reason is irregular practices by the social media platforms. Social media platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram, they are not stringent or strict with the content which is posted on these platforms. There are no strict rules and regulations to govern the social media platforms. The sixth reason is the curiosity of the children to try something new. As the children are very curious to try something new, they will become the easy victim of child pornography. For example, a student told to his friends that he knows a doctor who increases the breast size of the woman. The seventh reason is online child pornography becomes a medium to take a revenge. For example, a Gujarat 21-year-old man was arrested by the police who circulating images of his ex-girlfriend in compromising positions. And the last reason is the inefficiency of the police personnel. A recent report of Lok Sabha shows that the 3,17,439 cyber crimes has been committed in India, from which only 5,771 FIRs were registered, because cybercrime police investigators face technical challenges. The laws that deal with cybercrime in India are IT Act, IPC, and POCSO. That we have various provisions to deal with child pornography, but these are not efficient to deal with the issue of online child pornography. Let's see why these are inefficient. The first reason is IT Act becomes obsolete act. The IT Act has not been amended for 13 years, and the internet technology has boomed and it has entered into our daily life. For everything, we are dependent upon the internet. The purpose of IT Act was to deal with e-commerce activities, and there was no objective to regulate cybercrime issues related to human. The second reason is there are many new type of cybercrimes that are not covered under the IT Act, like cyber grooming, picture morphing, and etc. And the third reason is there are no special criminal code to deal with cybercrime issues, such as we have for company appellate tribunal, we have consumer commission, and we have a national green tribunal. And the fourth reason is the punishment provided to different cybercrimes under IT Act is very less. And the last is there are no efficient and trained judges to deal with cybercrime related issues. Now I request to Khushbu to discuss latest ongoing cases on cybercrime related to children, along with the suggestions to curb cybercrime and conclude the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Prerna. Now I would like to discuss some recent ongoing cases related to cybercrime. In this regard, the first case is showing porn video to a minor. 16-year-old girl in Pune was shown a porn video against her will by her aunt and her boyfriend. Both were arrested by the police. The crime took place during the lockdown in the month of April. The second case in this regard is sending violent and sexually explicit comments through WhatsApp or social media. 8 students of Mumbai school suspended for WhatsApp chat or raping classmates on using those words of like gang bang and rape on their WhatsApp chat. On the complaint of their parents, the students were suspended from the school. In this regard, the third case is sharing rape video of a minor girl. A minor girl was allegedly raped in Madhya Pradesh, Damoa, following which the video of the obscene act was posted on the WhatsApp group of the village. After the video was circulated on social media, the police detained 25 people and made them delete the video. And the fourth case in this regard is sending vulgar videos to a minor. Another incident is from Mumbai. Coaching teacher has been arrested for sharing sending sexually harassing comments to a 15-year-old girl student, and the accused has been sending vulgar videos and lewd text to the student. Even he has gifted some wristband to the girl to persuade her for these kinds of acts. Fifth case in this regard is sharing private or intimate video. A 16-year-old girl allegedly committed suicide in Charanagar locality of Gujarat's Ahmedabad after her boyfriend leaked her intimate video on social media platforms. Police arrested that person. These are not the only cases which I discussed. There are many other similar cases to these types of crime that are happening every day and destroying the lives of innocent children. Now, I would like to move towards suggestions to curb cybercrime against children. The first suggestion in this regard is need of more stringent laws related to child pornography. Like section 48 to 61 of the IT Act 2000 still have not been properly implemented by the government. A cyber appellate tribunal is not functioning properly. There is a case regarding to this. Vodafone India Limited versus Sri Prabhakar Sadekar and others. This case was heard by the cyber tribunal. Counsel for the appellant Saransh Jain was presenting the case, and the case was adjourned due to non-availability of the honorable chairperson. That means the proper functioning is needed. The Cyber Appellate Tribunal and the Airports Economic Regulatory Authority Appellate Tribunal was merged with the Telecom Dispute Settlement and Appellate Tribunal in 2017, but it is not working effectively at all. Therefore, proper mechanism from reporting to the cases till the disposal of the cases must be set up. A proper body must be set up by the government, by an act of the government, that in every district, state and national level in India, like separate cyber court related to the offenses against children in cyber world, like child pornography related cases, it should specifically deal in cyber cases against children. Another suggestion in this regard is punishment should be increased and cover the making, uploading and downloading of the child pornographic material as one of the heinous crimes, because it creates a lifelong victimization of the child. It affects the mind of the child. In this regard, I have a case, Arun Chandran versus State of Kerala. This is the ruling of the Karnataka High Court, Kerala High Court. In this case, the accused downloaded child pornographic material through mobile phone and held that he committed offense under 67B and 15 of the POCSO Act, but was granted bail. The court said in this case that laws should be stringent so that people of this kind should not get bail easily. Another suggestion in this regard is complete ban on VPN networks. Through VPN networks, people can access dark websites or pornography websites easily. So many of the countries in the world, they have banned VPN networks in their countries, or they have left unlimited access to through the VPN networks. For example, China, Iran, and Israel, they are the countries that have banned the VPN networks in their country. So limited access is left to the illegal websites, or the websites that have access of child pornographic material. Another suggestion in this regard can be taken. UP government's initiative to send text messages while searching pornographic material. I mean, they have included some keywords like child pornographic material or child pornography. If you search this kind of keywords in the internet, they send a text message to the mobile phones of everybody. This creates a deterrent effect in the mind of the people. And another suggestion in this regard is establishment of a national cyber training university. India lacks in uniformity of training to the police personnel dealing cyber cases against children. It is suggested that a cyber law training university be established so that proper implementation of the laws can be taught related to cyber offenses against children. Prompt registration of the cases and maintenance of the data is a problem in Indian legal system. It must be taught at university level to the personnel dealing cyber offenses against children. As said by the Prerna, amendment in the IT Act is needed. It's been 13 years, it has not been amended. Some of the social awareness I would like to present, which is needed in the society. For example, knowledge of the what can be obscene is must. Like what content is obscene, a person must know, or a child must know. Kids must be aware of what content is obscene and illegal. Like semi-nude pictures or videos, it must be taught by parents in the family itself through cardboards or showing pictures to them that it can attract legal provisions and lead to punishment. Parents must decide the hours of using phone for their kids and keep an eye through apps that what content they are accessing, or what material is being downloaded in their phones, or what material they are accessing on the internet, or what are the websites they are trying to access on the internet. Parents must be aware of these things related to their kids. Parents should keep an eye on the relatives befriending their kids, as most of the offenders, as said above, are relative of the child. In many cases, we have seen that the offenders are related to the kids anyway, or the uncle, aunt, or some distant relatives. They are the offenders. Help them to understand that what amounts to obscenity, and they be aware of these things. It is the duty of every parent that to teach their child what content is obscene and what can attract legal provisions. Children must learn to say no. If the students will be aware of cyber security and child pornography, they will not allow anyone to take that kind of picture and tell their parents if someone tries so. It can be stopped at the origin level itself. Awareness among parents and children by various workshops in school and college levels, especially in the government schools where lakhs of the students are learning. There must be organized, some workshops or some workshops kind of things in the school level itself to teach or to create awareness among school children and teachers about the cyber crime. The way school curriculum be restructured. There is a need now that school curriculum should be designed the way every child learns about the cyber security or the cyber crimes happening around the world. For example, I have an example of the Israel. In Israel, they start teaching their kids about the cyber security, about the cyber crimes since the primary level of the school. So there is a need in our Indian schools also. A book must be included in the curriculum. I have a case in this regard. Shriram Babu versus Chief Secretary. It is the case of 9th June 1997. The Supreme Court held that the state shall take every step to educate the people to prevent child abuse. The state should create a separate independent department concerned with child welfare. It cannot be denied that the future of the nation depends on the children of today, and hence appropriate steps should be taken to safeguard their interest. Another suggestion I have is government counselors for victim of child pornography. With this, I would like to conclude my presentation. Now I wind up to say thanks to all of you for listening to us and giving this opportunity to present before all the learned people sitting before us. Thank you, Prerna, and all the jury members, learned people, for giving this opportunity to us.
Thank you, Khushbu and Prerna, for giving us such a comprehensive and elaborative discussion and presentation over the topic. So, sir, and everybody, if we can see that there is not a...
Bhavna, we have Dr. Naz from Iran. He has a he wanted to intervene for 5 minutes. If you could request him. Dr. Naz is from Iran, so he wanted to say something for 5 minutes. If you can give him some time.
Sure.
Assalamu Alikum. Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting, thank you, Professor Abdul Mateen, for inviting me to the event. So, you know, the major concern is regarding the pedagogical problems in our primary schools here. But I think since I have time, so I'd like to, you know, listen other presenters' comments, and then after sometimes maybe after half an hour, maybe for 5 minutes, I'll, you know, I'll talk about my major concerns and experiences over here in the schools. And then, so now I think it's good to, you know, give the chair to another people's, and I'll join after maybe 10, 20 minutes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So, sir, as we can see that after the presentation, there is not a single problem that is leading to increased number of cyber crimes related to children. There is inefficiency of laws. There is lack of awareness among children, among parents, and all the guardians, the teachers, and even the social networking sites, that is, we call the intermediaries. If we see that maximum number of cases of cybercrime are happening through social networking sites, they are giving an easy way that the cybercrime can be easily committed because there is lack of stringent laws and stringent guidelines to deal with the issue. Even if we see that victims that you shared the case that that there was a fake website and there was sharing of pictures and which was leaked on social networking sites. If we see that as presently we have IT rules that has just come in the recent time, even they are very much inefficient to deal with the issue right now also, because there's anonymous nature, of course. We do not know who is there behind, and there are a lot of things that are still available on the social networking sites, but nobody is there to have a check over them. Nobody is there to make the social networking sites accountable. So I feel that the major problem that is lying is with the social networking sites, because they are making it very easier to have to accelerate the growth of cyber crimes. So before coming to what I think regarding the solutions and other things, I would really like to hear from Pandey sir that what is his views regarding laws and everything that we have right now. So please, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Bhavna, and respected Dr. Raj, Professor Abdul Mateen, Advocate Vikram, my dear friend, and of course, Mr. Sinha. Thank you very much for this opportunity where I'm amongst you people to share my views on this very relevant and critical issue, that is online safety of children. So while we are in the grip of probably the worst existential crisis, internet has enabled, technology has enabled seamless sharing of ideas, innovations, good practices, of course, and it has also helped us in continuing with learning and teaching. But as we know that there is always the other side of the coin. This technology, cyberspace, internet, it has also posed unprecedented challenges. The schools are closed, children remain indoors, physical activities are at the minimum, and the screen time has grown. There has been a phenomenal growth as far as screen time for all of us, including children. Now, only a year back or so, we would be regulating our children's screen time, often telling them that no more than half an hour or no more than 1 hour that they are allowed to spend online, because we believe that online means some kind of a fun activity, some kind of a leisure activity, something that is unrelated to learning, that is unrelated to gaining knowledge and all. But how things changed in the last 1 year, every parent, every guardian who can afford, of course, has given their children not only a gadget, but also a dedicated connection, and children are spending a lot of time out there. Khushbu and Prerna talked about inadequacy of law. They talked about that how the IT Act of 2000, that was primarily envisaged as a facilitator for e-commerce, is utterly inadequate to meet the new challenges, especially in the COVID era during this pandemic and all. And they also pointed out, and very rightly so, that even the last amendments that were made to include a few cyber crimes therein in 2008-2009 are now more than a decade old, and it seems that the law has failed to keep pace with the changing technology and the concern, the ever rising concerns of everyone, including us, the parents, and the society and the community at large. So when we have gathered here to take a stock of the situation, to take a stock of what has been done and what needs to be done in order to ensure online safety of children, what I feel is that there is a need to look beyond the substantive law. Khushbu and Prerna, they emphasized that how we lack deterrent punishments, how newer offenses have not been added despite many changes that have been made in the POCSO Act. The participants are aware that the latest amendment was made in 2019, and that amendment added for the first time a statutory definition of child pornography. We did not even have any statutory definition. Despite India signing and ratifying that second optional protocol under the CRC on child trafficking and all, we had no statutory meaning, we had no statutory definition. And then there are issues. I think Prerna and Khushbu, they were using the term obscene. What is obscene? What is vulgar? What is to be designated as a pornographic are very hyper technical issues. Hyper technical. And there are different standards, there are different yardsticks for gauging, for example, obscenity. Those who have had a background in law, they might be knowing that the idea of obscenity in the IPC, that was based on the archaic, the obsolete Hicklin's test. As travel to what we today call the community standard test and all. So of course, obscenity is something entirely different. Obscenity is everywhere. The society seems to have compromised. The society seems to have accepted that there can't be any complete check, complete eradication as far as obscenity is concerned, in spite of the fact that the Indian society is orthodox, the Indian society is a closed society, the Indian society is not that open society, not progressive. Even in the so-called progressive families, of course, sexual education, gender discussions, they are still a taboo. And another thing that we need to understand is that this over dependence on law, if we are, as far as safety of children while they are online, whether they are studying, whether they are reading, whether they are entertaining themselves, whether they are sharing texts, whether they are listening music, whether they are just browsing, whether they have visited some religious site or something that the parents won't like them to visit, of course. If there is some kind of abuse, the law's response would always be reactionary and would often be inadequate. Let me make it very, very clear. So while we talk about online safety of children, looking at laws for solutions, looking at laws for the answers, I don't think that that would be, or that could be the right approach. So what would be the right approach? What could be the right approach? Now see, even if better days are ahead where there would be hybrid mode of teaching and all, we all know that even the national education policy, the new education policy, it envisages a hybrid mode of teaching and learning. And a minimum of 25% of teaching would always be online, even in future, even if the pandemic is completely eradicated, even if everyone is inoculated, even if the virus dies forever, things are not going to change completely. It won't be a complete old normal. It would always be a hybrid kind of. So it can't be that children who are online today, because being online is a compulsion, their studies, their coaching, their examinations would be hampered, would be impossible if they are not online, if they are not provided with internet facilities and gadgets, etc., etc. And once the pandemic is over, of course, we would be back to normal. We won't be. The children would be different. So this online safety of children is going to be a lasting concern, is going to be a permanent concern for every one of us. And as I already said that the law's role would only be reactionary, the law would be reacting to an incident that would be making headlines. Let me briefly share with you something that was in public domain, very horrific, one of its kind. Case of a very large scale child sexual abuse that took place in one of the most unlikely places, not in a metro, not in a big city, but in one of the most underdeveloped regions of the state of Uttar Pradesh, in Bundelkhand. And who the perpetrator was? The perpetrator was again one of the most unlikely actors, most unlikely. Someone who was apparently having a very happy family life, young children, wife, having a decent government job. He was junior engineer in one of the government departments, and it suddenly emerged that he was selling child porn. On dark web, that black market. I'm not much into technology and all. That's not my mandate as well to speak on that. So he was luring children of all age groups, as young as 9-year-old, older, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old girls, boys, by offering them mobile games, internet time, chocolates. The modus operandi is common. He would not be having any sexual activity with those children. Now, this is something very important. He would make those children engage in sexual act with each other, and he would be filming and would be selling for, and we know that there's a huge market. This is a huge market. The Khushbu and Prerna, they pointed out that how consumption of child pornographic material increased by almost 95% during the pandemic and all. And there is a global market. For a few days after the accused was taken into custody by the police, everyone was interested. The media was interested. We were interested in knowing how the case is shaping up. But we today don't know the status of the case. The media also lost interest. And if you want to know the latest status, of course, it would be very difficult for you. Unless and until you have connections in the power corridors, in the police department, you won't be. So we often see this issue of child safety as a local issue. That's not a local issue. Unless and until there is some kind of global cooperation amongst the countries, amongst the states. Remember, internet has no boundaries. Jurisdictional issues that are often very, very important in physical crimes completely lose the relevance when it comes to cyber crime investigation. So this accused in a sleepy Bundelkhand town who was filming children, while making them engage in sexual activities, sexual acts, must be feeding a global market, must be selling it somewhere else. He is caught. Probably he would be prosecuted under the relevant provisions of IPC, under the relevant provisions of POCSO. The three provisions we know, section 13, 14, 15. Probably a few other provisions of IPC. 354 capital A, maybe 354 capital B, maybe 354 capital C, 354 capital D. Even section 375, section 376. You look at the definition of rape or penetrative sexual assault. It's not necessary for punishing someone for the offense of rape or penetrative sexual assault that the accused must have penetrated. The definition is wide enough to bring within its ambit even a case where the accused has made someone else to penetrate a child. The accused would be the rapist. The accused would be guilty as rape. So these are the applicable laws. But what about those to whom he was supplying? Would the law ever be able to catch them? If there is a market, there would always be people who would be supplying to the demand of that particular market. That's simple economics. Simple economics. So when it comes to making our laws amenable to such kind of transnational crimes, which almost every case of child sexual abuses, every case of child sexual abuses, there have been reported cases where the accused would be sitting in in a foreign country, the groomers, those who would be grooming. Not that Indians are not doing all those acts which are criminal. But there is always a likelihood that the perpetrator, the abuser would be sitting thousands of miles away, probably in a different jurisdiction altogether. So what is required is some enhanced global cooperation. Enhanced global cooperation. Now that is the need of the hour. Law enforcement investigations are among the most prominent means to combat online child sexual exploitation and abuse. National, regional, and international law enforcement agencies investigate online child sexual abuse, online child sexual exploitation and abuse, as we today call it, and cooperate in the investigation of these cyber crimes. There are plenty of examples, there are plenty of success stories. For example, in Operation Tentolia, Interpol, Europol, the law enforcement agencies from 15 countries in Europe, in Central America and South America, cooperate in the investigation of child sexual abuse material distributed via WhatsApp. The existence of the harmonized national laws are required. Harmonized. The laws can't operate in silos. The Indian IT Act can't remain Indian IT Act. It has to meet the global standards as far as ensuring online safety of children is concerned. There can't be different norms for online safety of Indian children, different from the norms that are applicable to online safety of German children or French children or English children or Bhutanese children or Nepalese children or Pakistani children. So that is what is the need of the hour. The existence of, I must repeat, of harmonized national laws, international cooperation in criminal matters, such as a mutual legal assistance and extradition, bilateral, regional, and multilateral convention and agreement on child sexual exploitation and abuse, and the effective enforcement of these laws, treaties, conventions, and agreements. Unfortunately again, currently there is just only one global convention, legally binding global convention, legally binding global treaty, that is known as a Budapest Convention on Cyber Security. Unfortunately, India is not a party. India has been resisting signing that global treaty on flimsy grounds, on technical grounds. India has not signed it. India is not part of any global arrangement. There are many regional. Almost all the European nations are part of some or the other treaty or convention. Even Latin American countries are part of. Many Asian countries are part of. India is not. India has its own concerns, of course, but let me conclude by saying that those concerns that India has are purely technical and must give way to our common concern for online safety of children. Now, what is very interesting and ironical as far as India's reservation for not signing this, for not ratifying this Budapest Convention on Cybersecurity is that India would be required to part with data, sensitive data. Of course, you would be required to part with sensitive data. But you would also be receiving sensitive data from other member countries while tracking down the criminal. Of course, you would be required to share data. But you would not only be sharing data, you would be receiving data as well. That would again strengthen your regime. As I said, and I repeat that this stand of India is ironical because today we don't have any domestic law for data protection. The laws are only proposed. Justice Shri Krishna Committee proposed a law as far as personal data protection is concerned. That law was completely tweaked. I had heard Justice Shri Krishna in a program in BHU last year, and he was expressing his surprise and concern that the bill that the government of India has put in public domain for consultation and comments is not the one that we had proposed. So the larger good would be to combat cyber crime against children. The larger good would be to participate in the global efforts to make cyberspace safer for children. And in order to achieve that, the minor technical reservations, of course, should not come in our way. With this, I once again thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak on this issue of immense relevance for every one of us, especially for those who have teenaged children. It's really difficult times. I must tell you that whenever I try to supervise, not by use of technology, manually supervise, not that I don't have faith in my child who is 17-year-old and spends a lot of time online. But do I have a way out? Can I stop him from doing that? As a parent, I'm only concerned that he stays away from undesirable effects of he remains insulated from the undesirable effects of internet and all. But that's only a wishful thinking, of course. My overzealous supervision makes him feel offended. He often objects that I don't like your supervising. You're entering my room, my domain, every now and then. Even if that is not for the purpose of looking whether he is, I have no complaints. But as a concerned parent, of course, it's often not easy for me to not check on him. But that constant checking makes him irritated, and I believe that several parents would be agreeing with my experience, would be sharing my experience. So teaching them, making them understand that how internet is a very powerful tool for their development, both moral, psychological, of course not physical, educational, and keep reminding them that what are the good practices as far as use of internet is concerned is the best way to ensure their safety. Laws, as I said, that are largely reactionary, and it would be too late before the law takes its own course as it always does. With this, over to Vikram and Bhavna. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Pandey. It was such insightful sharing. And two things which struck me was one, where you started by saying law is not the solution, and the answer, which is so true. But even parents at their own level are struggling. There are families who have only one device being used by so many individuals within the same family, all having their maybe own priorities in life. I'll just share two things. I was looking at the couple of policies that the government of India has floated. One is the National Cyber Security Policy 2013, then the National Cyber Security Strategy 2020. And none of these documents, and one document I was looking at, the Niti Aayog's document, none of these documents mentions child. The 2013 policy didn't even refer to age. The fact that Facebook allows children from 13 years onwards to have their own accounts and have direct access to everything, I don't think it syncs well with our other legislation like POCSO and JJ Act. And we all know how equipped, or say unequipped, the whole juvenile justice governance system is, from the village protection groups to the National Commission. So it's an open area, a lot of work that's required. So over to you, Bhavna. I think Mr. Naz wanted to speak. So over to you, Bhavna. Thank you. You are on mute, Bhavna.
Thank you, sir. Pandey sir have rightly said, and that law is actually not a solution. We have to seek for preventive measures, that we should take steps in advance rather than waiting for the crime to happen and then we seek solution to that, because the situation there is much worse. So it's better that we take steps before only, that we do not become, or our children or any other person do not become victim of cybercrime priorly only. One more thing that is related to cybercrime is, once a victim is always a victim, because once a person's pictures or any of the videos that is obscene or abusive, once it is there on the internet, you just forget that it will be removed anyhow. The reason here is Indian laws or Indian constitution do not still recognize the right to be forgotten. So right to forgotten is actually whenever any person's data is leaked on the internet, so you can seek for removal of your or erasure of your content by the court's order. So if anybody is searching for the victim or anybody else whose data is leaked, the searches and every another thing will not be available on the internet. This right to forgotten is one of the essential part in different countries such as EU, Argentina, and many other. But in India, we do not recognize this. So once the victim's data is leaked, it is there forever. Even if you get the justice, even then you are not still be relaxed that your data has been removed. There's a latest I was reading last month. There was a case of a fake profile that was made by a person 11 years back. So it took around 11 years for the trial to complete, and now the person who was accused, he has given punishment, and the punishment is just for only for 1 year. And the case was tried for 11 years. We can imagine that for one whose pictures were leaked by making the fake profile, she was suffering for 11 years. Her things were there forever. So this is the grave situation that we are in. So the thing that we can do is that we should take precautionary measures. One of the precautionary measures is social awareness and digital literacy. I'm not using the word digital education because education is something else, but I am using the word digital literacy. That means the basic understanding of cyber ethics and cyber norms that one should completely follow and inculcate in their lives. If we see in India, the WhatsApp users that we have, there are around 53 crore Indian population are a part of WhatsApp. They have the WhatsApp accounts on there. This is around 40% of the population is over WhatsApp. So if we can analyze, maximum of the youth and the teenagers along with the middle-aged group, all of them are on WhatsApp. And if you see the YouTubers, there are around 44.8 crore users. FB, that is Facebook, 41 crores, and Instagram, there are 21 crores. So we can see that maximum of the population of India is using social networking sites. And it is very, very easy that crime is bound to happen with these platforms. The latest that we have, the intermediary guidelines 2021, there are a lot of efforts that has been made by the government by providing these guidelines such as redressal mechanism and other things. But still, I still feel that though these are just guidelines, they are not laws, and nobody is going to make the social networking sites or any other intermediary liable for anything. So the ultimate victim or the sufferer will be the person who has the victim of cybercrime. So I would say that the first and foremost that we can do is make ourselves aware, make other persons aware. The step that Shika is taking, the Flair is taking, that's right now what we are doing is for that only. That's the best thing, that to make everybody aware of all the things that is happening, and the children, we can educate other people regarding the same. So, and there was another that case I would like to mention, that the Prajwala case that has also been mentioned in 2021 intermediary guidelines. This is a case in which in 2015, this is a Prajwala is an NGO that made a complaint that is in form of an PIL in 2015 to the Supreme Court. The then former judge, Justice H.L. Dattu, he took a suo motu action. As the Prajwala NGO, they made a complaint that there are a lot of abusive content related to children and rape videos that are available on YouTube and other social media platforms very easily. That you can easily access them. There is no, you do not need to go to dark web or any other place. You are easily getting all these things on YouTube. And if we have so many things already available, and very easily accessible, so what is the platform we are creating for the children? Because YouTube and other things are easily accessible to all the people. So when this case happened, the Supreme Court took this action and they asked the social media platforms, the giant ones such as Instagram and such as Facebook, Microsoft, Google, to give a report that if any of the thing is any of the crime that has reported to them, what is their action that they take. This case is still pending, and the big giants like Facebook, Microsoft, Google, they have still not sent any report that how many complaints regarding cybercrime related to children they are getting and what steps they are taking to curb this issue. So even they were also fined for 1 lakh each as they did not send any report, and the situation is still like this. So we are still in a hope that maybe the social media platform do take some good action and some rigorous action for these steps, because this is one kind of a preventive measure only. If the social media platform are active enough and they themselves are very much aware that any of the cybercrime or any of such kind of activities that is there already happening on their platform, they are taking initiative to deal with the matter themselves rather than then going to the law enforcement agencies and spending years to get the case resolved. So I would wind up by saying this. Thank you. Over to you, Vikram sir. Thank you.
Mr. Naz from Iran, if you would like to say. Yes, sir, please.
Yeah. Thank you again for having this opportunity to be in your event and listening your experiences and great speeches, especially Mr. Pandey. Right now, he had a very important, comments on this issue because maybe we have the same problems in Iran and India because we are not allied with the international treaties and we are not following them like India. So that is the same problem with Iran also. But unfortunately, the problem in Iran, our governance, they're trying to decline the problems and responding to cyber crimes just by filtering them. So, for example, for in the schools, because due to the pandemic, too many students pushed to the cyberspace, cyber world, and without preparing, without any of information about the cyber problems and too many things. Yeah, this is the same concern for our family or all mothers and fathers in our country also. Their children, due to their curiosity, they are surfing in the internet all the day, and they are facing with different new things. But unfortunately, gradually, it's increasing the premature puberty among them, and it also itself creates another problem. But during last year, during this maybe more than 1 year, we faced with a pandemic, and all the classes, face-to-face classes, shifted to the online classes. The government asked all the families and schools to hold their classes in filtered networks. For example, there are 2 or 3 networks. They are allowed to be, all the schools are allowed to be hold their classes in such kind of networks. And unfortunately, the most important thing created under this program, we know that the teachers are the most important reference group for giving the normativeness or regularity to the children, especially in primary schools. Most of the children, they very follow their children in the face-to-face classes. They learn too many norms, values, too many things in the schools. But now in the online classes, unfortunately, most of the concerns for the families they are, reporting that their children don't follow their, some orders. They don't, follow their school rules, and they lost their normativeness. They lost their, regularity in their life. So unfortunately, this created very important problems, both for families, teachers, and students themselves. And during this era, unfortunately, the the government don't concern about the problems day by day creating due to these online classes, because they think that we prepare the space, it's filtered, but they don't look at that. The children's just for, for example, my children, for his, classwork, it says that I'm doing the internet surfing just for providing some research, some, some materials for my classes. But unfortunately, so sometimes you can see that they're doing the illegal things, and they don't follow the rules, and they might face with the cyber crimes also. So unfortunately, one of the major issues in our governments, in our countries also, too many problems occurring due to these losing normativity and regularity and premature puberty among our children. And unfortunately, structurally, governments don't create any, law enforcement, child abuse treaties, or any new laws against the new problems. This is our major problem. There is a gap between the concerns of the governments and concerns of the families. Unfortunately, this conflict and, this problem pushing most of the families to the, maybe after 1 year or 2 years to the new crimes. Maybe we already had the cyber crime for older peoples, but now we are facing the new types of crimes in the cyberspace. So this is our country's situation, and the family's concerns and schools' concerns. And unfortunately, these conflicts and differentiation about the concerns, about the government concerns and family concerns creates new types of cyber crimes. Thank you for having this opportunity for me. And I just wanted to say that just filtering the networks is not solving the problem. The most important thing is increasing the students' or children's awareness against the cyber crimes and different problems they might face with them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Naz. Thank you, Vikram. Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you, Professor Pandey. And a special thanks to Prerna and Khushbu for making this very informative presentation. And from this session, we gather that when it comes to issues of cybercrime against children and young people, it's mainly the issue of territory, as Professor Pandey was saying, territory, jurisdiction, and digital footprint. When we are talking about something that has happened on the cyberspace, and there is an image or an audio or a video that has been uploaded somewhere by somebody, then one is never very sure where it has been uploaded from and where it can go, until what time it will remain there. The law today may direct one organization or one company to take that CSAM, child sexual abusive material, down, but the footprint will definitely remain. So it comes as a matter of technology, because if the problem has arisen because of technology, the law finds itself kind of in a very kind of weak state to actually handle it. So therefore, we always talk about prevention, awareness, and these kind of dimensions. And as an organization and as a network also, we emphasize mainly on preventive aspects. But let me admit very clearly that whenever a crime has happened, howsoever much we may try, we may put our attention on awareness and prevention, a crime happens even after that. That is why we have, for that matter, we have law enforcement mechanism, we have a judiciary, we have a judicial mechanism, and we also have a legislative mechanism which listens to the society and makes laws accordingly, and with the judiciary and the law enforcement mechanisms, they enforce. So we must admit that we are all trying on the preventive dimensions, but we also must keep our focus very clear on the remedial and the judicial dimensions also. Because when the crime has happened and that crime has not been taken into account and it has not been followed up in a through the judicial processes, then it also hampers the preventive dimension, because it sends a message across the society amongst the perpetrators and also amongst common people that they are not safe. So that fear mongering, that fear remains in the society. The parents and the guardians and children and young people, they live in a world of fear that when something happens to them, then they will not get justice. Therefore, we as a network, we also focus very clearly on the remedial dimensions and the justice part. So coming to the part of technology, see, let us be very clear that this is internet is a technology that is very, very different from other technologies. It is not a technology of, say, electricity or say aeroplane or ship or railways or these kind of technologies that we were using in our society, in our lives, to advance our lives, make our lives comfortable. Internet is a very different form of technology. It is a very different technology, mainly because it has got no central administration. Professor Pandey was also making a hint on it. It has got no control. It is completely democratic. That way, it has its pros and it has also its cons. Mainly because it does not have a central administration, be it from one country or be it from a treaty body. There cannot just be a treaty body like any convention at the UN level or international level that will have a central control, because by nature itself it is a decontrolled, uncontrolled technology, and that is why it has grown so much, and it has been very helpful in advancement of society. It has been helpful in uplifting the poor. It has been helpful in advancing democratic values, democratic principles, freedom of speech, and various kinds of freedom. So there are both sides of it. So whenever there is a new law or a new policy or a new guideline, there is always a debate from both the sides, that if it is made more stringent to curb or to stop, say, online child sexual exploitation or abuse, then it hampers on the freedom side. So there is that kind of a debate that goes on. And government and the enforcement agencies, they think from their own political lens and they take advantage of it. That is why these kind of discussion and these kind of discourses are very, very important for all of us to come together and understand what is important, where does the balance lie. Meaning tilting on one side and tilting on the other side, both are, if we make it very, very stringent, it will harm democracy. If we make it very, very loose and lenient, it will lead to more cyber crimes, more exploitation of children, more exploitation of women, abuse of women, more free traffic. And one more point I would like to say, Professor Pandey was talking on it, demand and supply. So long as there is demand, there will be supply. And we also understand that when CSAM or child sexual abuse material is in demand, or pornographic material is in demand, there will be people who will be making it because it's pure simple economics. It's pure simple business. And it sells at a huge price. It sells not just on dark web or deep net. It as Bhavna was pointing out, it also circulates on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. In fact, we have been following up with Instagram a lot because we have observed and we have been reported many cases where children and women have had their images being sold and their videos being sold for a price as low as 50 rupees or 100 rupees per photograph or per video. So these are quite serious matters. Now coming to the technology part, what kind of technology do we have in terms of you can say that minimizing or kind of stopping child sexual abuse material to be uploaded, distributed, and seen and traded on the internet. This is not a forum where people will understand the nuances of technology. So I'll just try to make it a little simple, what kind of technology that are available. And we should also understand that the availability of technology is one thing, and usage of technology is something that we are more concerned about. Technology may be available, but is that technology being used? And to what extent is it being used? Is it being used fully with with all the tools that it provides, or it is only for the namesake? That kind of an exercise we are trying to take forward. We are trying to undertake that kind of an exercise. Which are the platforms that are using these technologies? I will be dealing with binary hashing, robust hashing, and filtering, these kind of technologies. And what does it entail? What kind of preparation is required to use this technology to actually intercept these kind of distribution of these kind of images and videos and audios, and how it can be detected and pulled down, how the law can then take effect. And so with this, I would first talk about binary hashing. Binary hashing is used to fingerprint and discover online child sexual abuse material on a content level. That is, it identifies the actual images and videos depicting child sexual abuse. Hashing technology is secure, fast, and reliable technology that is used in various ways. Example in detection tools, digital investigation tools, and crawlers. It is used by law enforcement, NGOs, businesses, and platform providers. When new child sexual abuse material is found, the image or video is classified as illegal and given a hash value. That is, it is given a unique digital fingerprint. These fingerprints are added to databases that are used in different kinds of software used to identify child sexual abuse material. See, this is something there. But the main problem is that it has got a severe limitation. The limitation is binary hashing is, it can only detect the already known and indexed material. So indexed material is something which is indexing of material is, it has to be done very methodically, and it is almost till now it is almost a manual process. And suppose the problem also arises that there is one material is indexed, then it can be detected by binary hashing, but that material is tweaked a little bit. It meaning it is morphed a little bit, then it won't detect. It will not be detected. So try to understand it from this perspective. Suppose a girl comes to a law enforcement agency, an investigating officer is appointed by the police, and he or she, that police personnel, reports it to the company where it was uploaded, or it reports to and says that it has to be taken down. So it becomes really difficult if these images are tweaked. So and coming to other technology, there is another technology called robust hashing. This is it ensures that input data produces a hash value that will match any image with the same visual content. Like binary hashes, the photo DNA hash value cannot be reversed into an image. Photo DNA is it uses the visual content. This is the most widely used hashing technology, which is called the photo DNA. The law enforcement agencies across the world use this technology. It is also being used in India, but unfortunately, it is not part of the course curriculum of the training of all the police personnel. And many police personnel have not even heard about these kind of technologies. What is to be said about using these technologies? And as Professor Pandey was saying, the incidence of making online child sexual abusive material was there, happened in a remote part of UP in Bundelkhand. So just imagine what preparation or what kind of training the police personnel there would be having to deal with these kind of cases when it would have been first reported. The other mainly technology that is being used right now is artificial intelligence and machine learning. These two words are used interchangeably, but they are not one and the same. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are two different things. Artificial intelligence and machine learning is increasingly used in child sexual abuse investigation by helping to recognize, categorize material. It is rapidly developing technology which shows a lot of promise for this type of investigative work. Unlike hashing technologies, AI classifies having the potential to recognize new and previously unclassified child sexual abuse. Like with the binary hashing and robust hashing, I had said that there is a limitation that if a new form or new image comes and which is not already classified, it will not detect. But artificial intelligence, as it is called, it has an intelligence of its own. So if that kind of data is fed into this technology, but it requires huge amount of work, it will not work on its own. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, it will not work on its own. All the data has to be fed into it, and then it has to be programmed, and that requires a lot of manual work. Only then it will yield results. It has also got a limitation. It is not 100% reliable, and it also makes mistake. In essence, only as good as the data that it has been provided with. So therein comes the responsibility of organizations and networks like Shika. we all must come together. That is why we have started this network, Safe and Healthy Internet for Children and Adolescents, so that we can network with each other. We can share data with each other. We can share information with each other. So unless we kind of share data, share information, and we form alliances with government agencies, with law enforcement, with judiciary, this enormous and Herculean task cannot just be done by one organization or one school or one law college or one medical college. It is a Herculean task to prepare this artificial intelligence to be taken up by Google or Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp and various such organizations, and to strengthen the law enforcement agency, to strengthen the judiciary. So different types and nature of visual content or sexual abusive material that are there has to be classified first. It has the computer has to be given that learning. That when we say machine learning, then the machine has to learn, and then it will start working on its own. Then there is Bhavna had said that there is called keyword matching, that and Prerna and Khushbu had made it very clear in their presentation, that whenever these kind of words of rape or child pornography, then it detects. So it is called keyword matching. It also requires lot of human intervention. Those keywords have to be kind of classified and fed into the system. Then there is filter technology. Filter technology looks for suspect behavior, surf patterns, links, known bad domains or specific patterns in different ways, and then it filters those if we apply those filter. But this filter also has to have a human intervention before, and it has to be fed with that data previously for it to function very well. Then there are blocking technology at the ISP level. Blocking technologies are built to pick up and block domains and URLs that are known to contain online child sexual abuse material. It can take place on internet service provider level of the internet, where content travels through providers network. In business networks, blocking normally takes place through different filter solutions, but it also requires human intervention. The machine has to be given a learning of what kind of generally what words are there, what phrases are there, what digits are used in the URLs that contain online child sexual abuse material. So with these, I think I will rest my presentation here and request other people to invite to kind of make an intervention, or if Bhavna, I think if you can talk about deep nude that we had encountered when we were reported with some cases, and what does it mean, and what kind of technology it uses, and what kind of threat it kind of throws to the children and adolescents and young people. And we can take the discussion forward. And since we are already late, after about 5-10 minutes, if I can request Dr. Balhara to take the session forward on psychology and psychiatry aspects. Unfortunately, we do not have Professor Vandana today because she had severe sciatica pain, so she has excused herself. But we will have the discussion taken forward. Vandana ma'am is not present today. I think she is not there. She has excused herself. Bhavna, if you can talk a little bit about deep nude, and then I will request Dr. Balhara, who has been kind of the force behind this network to be started and is a founding member of Shika. Bhavna, please, and then Dr. Balhara.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir, you have rightly said that technology has just boomed and it has taken another form only. Technology is used in such a way that one cannot even imagine, because crime like deep fake, Deepfake is like there is a person whose picture is transformed into some other person's picture, and even the videos are made in such a kind that you will not be able to recognize who is the real person and who is the fake person. Deepfake is made, and using such kind of technology, even I am not a technological person who can actually connect to it and how it is done. But whenever it is done, a person really cannot differentiate between which is the real one and which is the other one. This is talking about the deepfake. There is another one is morphing. Even morphing also similar things happens, but we can literally differentiate which is a real one, which is not. Similarly, we have spoofing, and there are other kind of crimes as well, which are totally new, and not even a single mention is there in any of the laws or any of other things, and these are not even recognized in the guidelines or the books that are provided by CBSE for the children to understand how the crimes are happening and what kind of crimes are there. There is a book that is given by CBSE for children. There are a lot of cyber crimes that are also mentioned there, such as cyberbullying and cyber stalking, and they have clearly defined that what is cyber stalking and what is cyberbullying and all the other crimes. But even there, the crimes like deep fake, the crime like spoofing, then cyberjacking, then there is even we have cyber rapes, digital rape that is also called. So these are not defined there, but these kind of crimes are happening at a rapid rate. Even you can easily see if you visit Instagram and if you visit Facebook, there are memes created. So these are very heinous and very problematic area that is concerned related to technology. The technology is used in such a way that is harming a lot rather than helping us. And the easiest target is, of course, the easy target of technology is the children. So, sir, this was about how technology is booming up and transforming into a very heinous thing. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Bhavna. I request Dr. Balhara, please.
Thank you, Ajay. And a very warm good afternoon to all the participants here. I'm a psychiatrist by profession. I work at AIIMS, New Delhi. And my interest on this theme is because we interact with people who have health-related issues due to internet and technology. So that's where I come into the picture. And Shika probably is one of the very unique organizations, I think not just in the country, but globally, where internet-related safety as well as health, both are given equal importance. You will find people who work in the area of internet safety, and then there are others who are working with health-related issues. But seldom you will find an organization that incorporates both these elements, that is safety as well as health. Now, many speakers have already talked about the safety part of internet and the technology part of it. I'll focus primarily onto the health related issues, and I won't speak for long. I'll speak for maybe 5 or maybe 10 minutes at the most. So when we talk of internet and internet related technology in context of health, there are different facets that we need to keep in mind. The most common and probably the most popular these days is the use of word addiction with anything that has to do with internet. You use the word addiction and put after anything that is related to internet. So there can be internet addiction, there can be social media addiction, there can be mobile addiction, there can be laptop addiction. And that's not untrue. I mean, it's a fact that these days people have recognized that there is something that resembles addiction that can happen with use of internet or mobile phones or gaming or social media. And I'm not debating that because that's a valid concept these days. In fact, Professor Martin mentioned, or one of the speakers also mentioned that if you look at the WHO's classification of diseases, the most recent one acknowledges that gaming disorder is a diagnosable medical condition. So factually, we are correct when we say that. But the way we use this word in common conversations is probably not the technical sense of it, because you will hear any person who you meet will tell you that he knows somebody who is addicted. Either it's their own children or children of somebody that they know of. And interestingly, you will always find that this person who is addicted is from a younger generation, not from the same generation that the person you are communicating with is. So what it basically tells us is that when it comes to technology, we are always talking about something that means differently to people from different generations. So what has happened is people who are in their, say, 30s at this point in time, when they were growing up, they did not have access to internet or mobile phones the way children have today. So they are not even familiar with the concept, what it means to live in a world where everybody is on internet. They can't even imagine how important it is to have a friend group on Facebook and not to be left out of that group. They can't even imagine that how even for taking your classes, internet is such an important thing these days, how the homework is shared over WhatsApp, how the projects can be made by searching something on internet so easily. And that's okay, because every generation has its own challenges and its own advantages. So what happens is, when you look at somebody who is on the other side, you tend to assume that if you are using or doing something excessively, it automatically becomes an addiction. That's not true. For example, somebody who is a computer programmer, who as part of his or her work spends 8 hours in front of a computer screen, that person is not an addict to computers. A person who is creating a content for any social media platform, maybe a YouTube video or an Instagram post, because that's the source of revenue for that person is not addicted to Instagram or YouTube. I am sitting in front of the screen since 3 in the afternoon, although my session was scheduled to start at least 2 hours after that. So I am not addicted to internet, at least that's what I believe. So we need to demarcate that it's not such a simplistic concept that if you have a phone in your hand 24 hours a day, that means you are addicted. Or if you have an internet connection that is active 24 hours a day, that's not internet addiction. And addiction is a very well-defined disease concept that has its own diagnostic criteria. As it happens with most of the medical disorders, we are always slow to respond. Although you might consider that this is the key word these days, internet addiction, mobile addiction, and everybody's talking about it. But if you look at the services, no, they don't exist. Even at this point in time, there are a very few hospitals across the country where you will find services that are designed to cater to these people. There are very few. And regrettably, that's the case with any medical condition that we see. It takes us many years before we realize that now we have to do something. Probably we have not reached that stage. That's why our response is so slow. But even those who are addicted, they are a very small fraction of the population. So there is this concept that number of people exposed and number of people getting that problem. So that's a very simplest and very common concept in medicine, like for coronavirus. So number of people who are exposed to the virus versus people who develop the disease, it's not 1:1. And then number of people who develop a severe disease, that again is not 1:1. So number of people who are exposed to the causal agent and number of people who develop the problem, it's usually not 1:1. The ratio is less than that. The same is true with addiction as well. And going by the number of people who use internet and mobile phones, it's a very small fraction who eventually end up having the addiction. The major concern is that we are probably trying to see it as a problem of two group of people. One is those who are addicted and they need medical care. And then there is a group that is absolutely fine. So that is my concern when it comes to this concept. We cannot see this as a this concept which has a dichotomy, that there is a clear-cut line, and if you're on the other side you have addiction, and if you're on this side you don't have addiction. So I always try to conceptualize this as a lifestyle issue. Whether we like it or not, for most of us, especially those who are living in cities and towns, and to a large extent in different villages as well, the younger generation, internet and mobile phones, they're part of their daily routine. So you have to live with them. There are certain things that you can live without as well. I'm not saying that many of these are essential for our survival, but since time immemorial, we know that human beings, they like to engage in behaviors which are not even essential for their existence, and that's part of overall human behavior. So there is nothing wrong with that. So given the fact that we have internet in our lives, our focus should be on how do we live with it. Of course, there can always be limits that we can set for ourselves, and we can find the right ways of using internet, but that is something that we need to learn, and that can happen only if you see it as a lifestyle issue. So what happens is we tend to see it as an issue that comes up overnight. It doesn't happen like that. It's not that key. Since yesterday your son was using internet in the right way, and today morning you realize, no, there is a problem. Things which are part of our daily living, they take time to evolve into a problem, and it all happens in front of us. If you are living in a family, you know that what others are doing during the day, how they are spending their time, how much time they are spending using a mobile phone or a laptop or internet, and it all happens in front of us. So it's not that suddenly someday something goes wrong. No, it all happens over a course of years. And that's where that relevance of seeing it as a lifestyle issue comes into play. So you cannot expect that after 5 years of internet use, you will tell your children someday that, no, today you won't use mobile phone. You don't tell them that today you won't eat anything. You won't tell them that today you won't wear any clothes. You don't do that, because they're supposed to do those things every day on a daily basis. So unless and until we start talking about this thing as a lifestyle issue, I don't think that we can avoid this problem. That's the best way of handling it. So we need to talk about internet, mobile phones with the people who are going to start using them. Usually what happens is parents just hand over these devices to their children, believing that they need it, but nobody makes any attempt or any effort to kind of educate them what it is supposed to do, what is it is not supposed to do. And part of it is because the older generations is a younger generation. They are usually, when it comes to technology, less aware of the most recent advances, and so they might have this feeling that our kids know more than us about this, and how can we talk about it? But no, as parents, there is a responsibility that we have to the children, and we should exercise that. Uh, Again, many people believe that it should be from the other end. I mean, there should be, why all these things exist when they are causing problems. So they believe in that there should be rules and regulations. But as human beings, we don't like to live in a world of restrictions. So it's always a better idea that we bring in the change from within rather than being forced. I mean, you won't like a rule that tells you that after 10 p.m. The lights will be turned off no matter what you are doing. You won't like a rule where you won't be allowed to eat a sweet dish after you have had one helping. You won't like those kind of rules. You won't like a rule where you'll be pushed out of the house no matter what so that you can exercise. I mean, there can be rules for that as well, but we don't want that because we want to live the life the way we want. So when it comes to internet, the best option is that we inculcate those healthy internet use related habits. And that will happen only when we use internet or mobile devices as an active user. And by that, I mean, don't just hand over these things to your children because they want it or they need it. there has to be a process to it. You need to tell them. The same device can be used for different purposes by people in different age groups. So why there is nothing wrong if there are some restrictions for somebody who is 10 years old as compared to somebody who is 18 years old. I mean, there are so many things in our households which we don't let the children's use. There is cooking gas in every household. How many kids they burn their hands while cooking? We don't let them do that. There are knives in our kitchens. How many kids they injure their fingers playing with the knife? We don't let them do that. Why do we do that? Why do we not simply say that there is no rule against use of knife by children, then they should be allowed to do that? No, we don't depend on rules for that. So we need to take a similar approach for internet use as well, because majority won't develop addiction, that's for sure. I mean, in a society, if majority develops an addiction, then society becomes dysfunctional. Then there is no way forward for the society. So usually it happens that most of the people in a population or a population group, they don't have a disease, they are healthy. But yes, even if they don't have the disease, the way they are using these things in their lives, there can be so many problems that they might be facing. So we need to take it from the lifestyle perspective. Also, don't expect that change from top will help you handle these issues. Coronavirus disease, COVID-19 is a great example. We all were hoping the vaccine will come and things will be taken care of. Today, there are vaccines, not just one, tens of vaccines are available. But in our country, can somebody who is 25 years old can go out and get a vaccine? No, although it exists. So when you expect something that will come as a solution from top to the bottom, it will always come in a very staggered way, in a way that is feasible, in a way that can be executed. There will be priorities, there will be less priority areas. So please don't wait for that to happen. Yes, laws will come in, they will take their own course. But even if there is a law, and even if the culprit is punished, I don't know how it helps the victim. I mean, I don't think it will take away the distress, the pain, the trauma of the victim if somebody is punished for their act. Yes, law should take its own course, but rather than that, we should bring in the change from within, and we need to start talking about it. We all talk about addiction, the way our youth is going in a wrong direction, but what is the alternate that we are offering? And the same youth was there when internet was not there. Didn't they have any other problems at that time? Yes, there were problems. I mean, people would recall that what internet is being seen as today, TV used to be something like that a few years back. People used to call it an idiot box. Children should not be allowed to watch TV for a long time. Nobody talks about TV these days because it has been replaced by something else. So these issues, they are part of modern day living, and they are likely to exist with us. And we need to find ways so that we can make use of the technology in the best possible way. Blaming the technology doesn't work. It has never worked. I mean, one of the core components of human progress is the advances that we make. But the problems are not because of technology. They are because of the wrong use of the technology. And the same holds true for internet as well. So my suggestions are that we should talk more proactively about internet. We should talk more proactively about what is the place of internet in our lives. What we should talk more proactively about what are the right times of using it, what are the right reasons of using it, and how we can live with internet and mobile phones being there in our households and yet not interfering with our interpersonal relations and our daily living. So this is what I have to say on this.
Thank you so much, sir. Now the kind of house is open for any question, discussion, and if anybody wants to say something, make a remark, make a suggestion, then it is open. And after that, and if there is no suggestion, no remark, then I would request again Dr. Bhandari and Professor Mateen to take over for another 5-10 minutes, and then we can discuss in the end for about 10 minutes. What should we be doing for this network to actually grow and increase the membership? Because for these kind of issues, until unless we have more and more members who kind of network with each other, talk to each other more often, not just when we have these kind of events, but more often. We may end up doing something or discussing something which is not really informed and not in the best interest of the child and the young people. As we heard Dr. Balhara, that we need to take a very balanced view. The technology is here to stay. It has to, we have to see it as a lifestyle issue. It cannot just be a step that suddenly we say to our children that you do not use a mobile phone or internet from today onwards or tomorrow onwards. So these kind of discussions need to happen, and this discussion needs to go beyond these kind of meetings, and it has to kind of being there in all schools, all colleges, all households. And for that, what needs to be done for these kind of messages and these kind of information, these kind of discourses to be available to each and everybody, so that we can think together, work together, raise our voice together. If anybody has any question, otherwise Dr. Bhandari, I request Dr. Bhandari, please.
So, do I speak, Ajay?
Yes, sir. Yes, I think anybody can unmute himself, herself, and can speak. The floor is open. Otherwise, Dr. Bhandari.
I would encourage, the participants to really come forward and give us a very, useful feedback that we would expect and how we go forward from now on.
Good afternoon, one and all. Myself, Rishmi Sharma, from Sikkim, sir. So thank you for, first of all, I would like to thank for inviting for this presentation. I would like to ask one question to Dr. Balhara, sir. That, sir, if I caught any children using this cyber pornography website, then how do I first, how do I react to those children, and what will be my reaction to, how do I suggest those children? So this is my question, sir.
I think Dr. Balhara has left, so we can have this question answered offline and maybe through email or a phone call. That is, Reshmi, we have a limitation that technology and meetings like this poses, because if we see, we started with about 80 people, now we have only 30 people. So this is kind of, your question is well taken. We have taken note of it, and we will pass it on to Dr. Balhara, and we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you with Dr. Balhara's answer. I don't want to answer on his behalf because it is a very specialist area of work, and it would be better in fitness of things that Dr. Balhara answers the question.
Hello, Ajay. Can I? I am Ramakan from Jaipur.
Yes.
Yeah. So I really want to thank you, Flair and Sitcha, for regularly, continuously working on this issue of child online safety. That's quite, the issue is quite new, unique, and it's evolving, emerging, and we don't know, like COVID variant. We never know what kind of, the online safety, the hazards it is taking the form of, and how children and adults alike are going to be the victims of this internet abuse. So thank you so much. And I have been listening to all the speakers. They are really good. And what I want to stress is that I think both awareness and law, both are required, what I understand. Awareness, self-discipline, and good use of internet, self-regulation, you can say that is really required. But at the same time, even if something happened and the state has to make all those service providers, intermediaries, social platform accountable, we cannot let it go like that. We cannot say that, yeah, it's my business, it's my responsibility to be safe online. Yeah, but due to ignorance, due to the lack of orientation, understanding, and education, I may fall victim of such conspiracies. I can say conspiracy. I cannot say, but I see there is a structured, attempt to get into the, privacy of persons, and obviously children are the largest victims. So I think we should unite and continuously lobby for the most effective law that can be put in place. And the other one, you are and some other speakers were highlighting that how we can benefit from the international global alliance and knowledge, the artificial intelligence, to make those people. But because I think law has a preventive aspects also. Its law does not only react, rather it has also the components or the power to prevent the conspirators, I can say. So that is one thing. The second, I'm glad to know about this network. How do you call it? Sika.
Tika.
Sika. Yeah, yeah. That's a good network. Nice to learn about this network. I look forward to discuss more on this with you offline. And we intend to work on online child safety. We are starting new projects, and I think that would you people would be a great source of guidance for me particularly. So thank you so much for sharing this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramakant. I may also request the organizers' main Dheeraj from Partners in Change to make an intervention. Partners in Change is one of the founder members of this alliance, and it is they also work on this issue mainly from business and human rights point of view. So if Dheeraj can make an intervention, and then we can have a little discussion on how we take the network forward, how we increase the membership, and we have got a very fair view of what is required from the network and what kind of information and knowledge that needs to be shared. Dheeraj, please.
Thanks, Ajay. I think talking on behalf of Partners in Change, because we work largely into business and human rights domain, and when we look at the this issue of online safety and security, particularly with focus on children, because most of these platforms are big businesses at last, we know, and we look at this issue as largely as a business and human rights issue also. And I think some of the areas where as a network also and which we have also discussed earlier, where we can work is also in terms of looking at the policies that these big businesses are having with regard to children's safety and security on these platforms, and what kind of information is being disclosed related to data protection or related to what kind of safeguards are there when it comes to abuse, online abuse. So that would be one area which we think can be, which is more of a research and dissemination, but at the same time creating a narrative where somebody also starts holding responsibility when it comes to these things. Because this is something which is largely, as some of the speakers also talked about, individual restraint, but at the same time there are big players who are either acting as a medium of this information, or who are also pushing this kind of information or narrative in public. So that is where we see some kind of work that can be done, where we start looking at big businesses and the kind of policies and disclosures they are making. Thanks, Ajay, for this.
Thank you, Dheeraj. Sir, if you can give your concluding
Well,
remarks and give your guidance on how do we kind of try and increase the network strength through all various types of organization and various types of people.
So, we do understand that there is a clandestine nature of this business, and this is very much, something behind the curtains, that things are happening. And that is why one of the speakers, of course, mentioned that we need to look beyond the law, the legal framework as well. Apart from that, I firmly believe that technology is the driving force for growth. We see use of technology in practically every sector, and the only way to progress is by use of technology, and that is well known. Uh, the issues that have been flagged in our discussions and in the previous discussions as well, they pertain to child safety and healthy internet usage, and those unfortunately have not been taken much cognizance of. So I feel and we all agree that technology is here to stay, and technology is here to not only stay but develop uh, in the future. In the sector of health, nutrition, agriculture, I see increasing use of artificial intelligence and machine learning and blockchain to make our programs more efficient, actually. So simplified algorithms that we can develop, all these things are the good part of it. But this network can play a very pivotal role in developing a structure where a redressal mechanism is there, some, because all the victims would want a platform where they can uh, you know have a redressal mechanism, a justice system. Fast tracking that justice system would be important. So there is the POXO Act and the child welfare committees uh, formed all over the country, but they need to be educated. So I firmly believe that awareness and educating the policy makers and the executive would be an important task as well, apart from educating the general public. uh, there should be a consistent effort on part of this alliance to give positive suggestions, feedback to the government. At a personal level, I will certainly make efforts to see that it reaches the right um, people and the policymakers, and it is heard. But ultimately, when all of us can come together, give positive suggestions, not only suggestions, but solutions. I would say, let us be a part of the solutions rather than the problem. That would go a long way in keeping up a sustained campaign. Ultimately, what we need is a sustained campaign. It should not be that we have, organized few webinars and all, and then it dies down. But for sustaining a campaign, participation is important. Extending our network and empowering our network actually would be important. But besides that, let us be a part of the solutions, and issues like data sharing, and all those are basically issues which are important, but there is a paucity of data. We have not, been able to generate even data for NFHS between NFHS 4 and between NFHS 3 and 4. It took a decade, so there is a data drought. But as we are progressing on this technology, I think we will gather more data and certainly make use of that data, apply that data. So that would influence policy and of course be a part of the global network. So all the issues that have been raised are very pertinent and they deserve the attention. And I wish you all the best. Um, and the way forward, I think it is the solutions are in clear sight. So I call it as a perfect storm in the sense that when we have the solutions in sight, uh, when we know what we need to do, a very good camaraderie between the psychologists, the psychiatrists, my colleague Dr. Balhara. I'm impressed in the way that he is able to deal with issues of human behavior, not from a pathological point of view, but more effectively as a issue of human behavior. So those are very good approaches. The whole, all the speakers were very eloquent. They made very substantive points, and Dr. Pandey, of course, uh, uh, he made some extremely important observations. So I can only give you my best wishes at the moment, and anything that we can do to expand the footprints of our network would be most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We have actually made a new website. It's called shika.org. So it will be live next week. It's already done and it has been tested. So it has the membership form, and one can become a member on through that website also. The general membership form is very simple. There are two types of membership. One is general membership. It's open to any individual, any organization. And associate membership has got some response. As an associate member, one has some responsibility. So that form is a little bit longer and it requires to submission of a few certificates to become an associate member. But general membership is open to any school, any college, any medical institution, any individual. And that is one way of kind of expanding and increasing our footprint and strengthening ourselves to make our voices to be kind of heard in the excellence of power where it matters most, be it the big companies or the executive and the legislature and the judiciary. And but more than any technological help, as we all know, I request each and everybody present here or who would be listening to recording of this session to spread the word around and kind of make more and more members, because as members we would be connecting more often through through WhatsApp groups or WhatsApp information or simple brochures or simple flyers or email digest, and that would be a more regular form of being in touch. And if something kind of gets reported or something happens, then any or other member of the group or of the alliance and the network can respond in time of need. So that would be the main strength of this network. So please spread the word around that one can join through the website. It's called shicaa.org, shika.org. I'll type it here in the chat box also. And thank you so much, everybody. Every time we meet, we kind of, the time kind of flies by and we are always short on time. But today, fortunately, we are on time a little before time because we had kept it for 3 hours people were saying that why are you keeping it for 3 hours? But then we didn't want to rush through any of our meeting, because 1.5 hour, 2 hours, we had to rush and kind of leave out some things. So we have had enough time. Thank you, everybody. So thank you for your participation, and the speakers and all the participants who made an intervention. And in the next time when we meet and when we have these email groups, we request you to come forward and speak your mind, write very clearly and ask questions, suggest, give solutions, and be a part of solution. As Dr. Bhandari sir has said, that we all need to be part of the solution, not just suggestion. Suggestion is better than keeping quiet, and being a part of the solution is even better. And that is what we look forward to. And with these words, I thank everybody and take your permission to end this meeting.